You're listening to the Really Very Crunchy podcast with your hosts, Emily
and Jason.
And today we're going to talk about slow living, which when I first brought this topic to you as a proposed idea, you were like, oh, you mean like when your
living
life...
in slow motion.
Yeah, your life slows down.
When those moments hit you and you're just like, no. Yeah. Slow motion
which
living.
You have the most epic slow motion story ever.
But that's not exactly what you meant, right?
That is not what I meant, but I do want to tell this story.
Okay.
Because you were basically a hero. I mean, an entire subway car applauded you in Paris, France, which doesn't happen to everyone. It was like a movie moment, also a slow-mo moment.
A slow-mo moment?
A slow-mo moment. So we had been traveling through Europe after our second year in South Korea because we had saved up all this money to pay off our student loans. And then our friends took a trip through Europe and you were like, why wouldn't we do that? Not you, me. I think I said you, but I was like, why wouldn't we do that? Why would we pay off our student loans? They're just sitting there.
Yeah.
That's not going to add any value to our lives. Why don't we travel through Europe? We were leaving France and headed to London.
Yeah.
But it was our last day. And for some reason, we got all of the rest of our money out and you had it in cash.
Yeah. First hero moment is I put all of our cash that we had with us in my wallet in France.
All of our cash. That was it.
Yeah.
That was like what we had.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but you were like, I'm going to put it in my front pocket. It'll be safe there.
Naturally.
I remember you like being very intentional about that. So then we got on the subway with all of our suitcases from South Korea because we were moving home. So it was a little excessive. It wasn't just like a...
don't forget, we took the subway because we were too cheap to take a taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like we were walking targets.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were on the subway.
Yeah.
And this...
Really, I just wanted to show my hero moment.
This girl...
Because I knew it was coming.
This, like...
Didn't. No.
Little... She wasn't little. She was like a teenager. Upper teens. 18, maybe.
Yeah.
Came on...
I mean, she's at least 7 feet tall. Strong.
5'3".
Oh.
Petite.
She's about half my size. Yeah.
Jason, she was like my size. Okay, this girl comes onto the subway. She's like standing right between us. And she's leaning on you. You know, like when you're riding on public transportation, which in South Korea, the buses got pretty crazy full.
They're
like,
shoving people on, yeah.
Shoving people. We're like squeezed in there like sardines. So maybe you were just used to it. I don't really know. But there weren't that many people on this subway car. And she was like leaning on you.
Yeah.
And...
So her purse was like hanging right here. And then she was just leaning on me, looking up at me like this. I was looking down at her like this. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you were like, get off me.
I said, get off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's just looking up at me like this, like she doesn't understand. Well, her hand is in her purse, but her purse, I guess, had a hole in it. Her hand was actually in my front pocket.
How did you not feel that?
She's good.
Okay, so here's where it goes slow motion.
Well, the slow motion moment happens as soon as she steps away.
Wait, no. First, you look at me and you're like, Emily, do you have the wallet?
Nope.
Yes.
Slow motion moment happens when she steps away.
Oh, okay.
And I slap my hand on my front pocket.
Could you just feel it?
Well, today I even check for my wallet. I check for my wallet every day, every time I'm about to go out or I'm out somewhere. No matter what, I feel for my wallet.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm just not a very trusting person,
okay,
I guess.
So you reach down, not slow motion yet.
Well, yeah, this is when it happens. It's like, it's empty. Emily, did I hand you my wallet?
No.
And you're like, no. And like, so that's when I just look at the girl and the bus is stopping.
Not a bus.
The subway is stopping. And she's making her way to the exit. And
she's out.
Well, yeah, the door's open. And I grab her wrist really quick and pull her back in. And I say, give me my wallet. This is, again, happening in slow motion. Give me my wallet! I don't know
She's
why.
just looking at you
Well,
like,
I didn't have
who are
proof that
you?
she
I
took my
know.
wallet, but I just had that feeling.
I
But
mean,
then,
you just had that feeling after she was leaning on you for 3 whole minutes.
I mean, okay. It did take her a while to actually get my wallet, and I don't know. But anyway, I must have terrified her because she threw the wallet on the ground. I'm like, oh, good. I pick up my wallet. I open it immediately. All the money is gone. She's going to the doors again. The doors are about to close. There's in French, I guess. Doors are closing. She's making her way to the exit. I grab her wrist again, pull her back on. Give me my money! Give me my money!
You're like holding her hard,
Yeah.
shaking her, which
Uh-huh.
I was like,
Yeah, well,
he's totally going to get arrested.
Well-
But she did steal your wallet. So then, like, that was out in the open then.
then there was a shower of money just in the
Cash.
air, which was smart of her. She knew what to do. She threw the money just in the air, knowing that I would go for it.
Uh-huh.
And then I wasn't going to keep her there if
Yeah.
the money was there. And yeah, she ran off. The doors closed. Pick up the money. The people applaud.
Everyone cheers. I mean, everyone on the whole subway. They're like, yeah, yeah.
They're all like crazy Americans. We did count it. I think it was all
Yeah,
there.
it was all there.
Maybe plus or minus $20. I
Yeah.
don't know. Plus, I don't think plus. She didn't tip me. Yeah, that whole moment was slow living for me, and
Slow.
the whole thing was just slow motion, and it was really dumb because I could have just gotten shanked.
Mm-hmm.
Like there would have been nothing for her to just like, oh, and then just like bleed out. I thought about that much later, but like there was no decision
Yeah.
to be made in that moment. It just happened.
We needed it.
Well, yeah.
So, but that's not what we mean by slow living.
That's not slow living at all, is it?
No, that wasn't.
That's just an adrenaline-filled slow motion moment.
So before we get into actual slow living, why don't we do the comments of the week?
Do you want me to read it in slow motion?
No.
Okay. First reviews of the podcast came out.
Oh, cool.
We don't make it a habit of reading the reviews because I'm scared of bad ones. But I did this time.
That's not true. You read the reviews.
I know I do. That's a lie. People say they don't read the reviews. Everybody reads reviews. If they say they don't read reviews, they're lying to you.
Well, here's the thing.
You haven't read book
I
reviews.
haven't read all my book reviews because I am nervous. There are a few 1 stars, but mostly 5 stars. Like over 200 5 stars. Yeah. Over 240 5 stars.
Over 245 5 stars.
No, but you've written some books, and you
Yeah.
whenever you first were releasing them, they have like 1,800 4.8 star reviews or something crazy. He has
Couldn't have said 5 star.
ton of reviews, but one of your reviews haunts you.
Yeah.
It haunts you.
Yeah.
Stab me in the eye with a shrimp fork.
No, I need a shrimp fork so I can stab myself in the eye. Yeah.
See, yeah, you've got it memorized.
Oh, I've got it memorized.
So I think
I laugh now, but
that traumatized you.
It hurts.
So like you don't want to read bad reviews.
This is great. This is great. So the first reviews of the podcast, I don't have names on these, but someone said warm, real, captivating, loving the real stories and honest conversation.
Aww.
Keep it up.
That's really encouraging.
We have another 5 star. I was hooked after the first episode. I loved the lighthearted banter between the two of them. It's so refreshing and fun. I can't wait for more episodes.
Sweet.
And then there's a 3 star.
3 stars not so bad.
Well,
like a 3-star restaurant. It's really good.
Yeah, well, this is like the Applebee's of reviews.
Okay.
So, needs some work.
Needs some work?
Needs some work. More Emily, less complainy Jason. Noted. All right.
Be quiet, Jason.
Yeah, I'll just sit over here and just let you talk.
Yeah.
It'll just cut to me and I'll just react wordlessly. Oh.
Or just be less complainy.
Thank you. Yeah. Just why don't you just agree with our 3-star review there? Anyway, no. So people seem to be liking it. That's great. I hope.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
This is a good cue. If you're listening right now, go ahead and hit those stars on the review part of the podcast, wherever you're listening. 5, 5, 5,
Does
5.
this count as like subliminal messaging? What if we run it backwards?
If. It doesn't work that way. And if you're on YouTube, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and you know what they do, whatever. um. Anyway, yeah, if you are listening to this, you ever want to see a visual of it, we are on YouTube.
Yes.
That's fun. So, anyway, so we put out the cicada video last week. We have a couple of comments from there. Lila Rubio Cuero says, I like your hubby, but I preferred when your posts were just you. Heart emoji.
Everyone is just giving me all the love today.
Yeah.
You're out, Jason.
I'm out.
Forget you.
I had my moment in the
did.
limelight.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, I feel like before we introduced you to the videos, they were getting a little stale. Like, there's only so much I can say to an imaginary person off screen.
Yeah, well,
I think you're doing great, Jason.
Thanks. I'm losing some love here, but that's okay. On Rash Rendering Relationship, Glow Meadows says, this is cool.
Wait, do you think Glow Meadows has those glowing petunias?
Maybe not yet. Not if they're not for sale.
No, I saw a comment, or somebody said that their niece has had them since January in her garden.
So they are out.
Apparently.
I kind of want to see them.
Okay, let's hear.
In the early 1960s, my grandfather was struck by lightning and was left with severe burns. In the very rural part of Mexico that he lived in, there was no doctor nearby. The breastfeeding mothers of the small town would share their breast milk for his wounds, and he healed completely.
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
That is really cool, and I 100% believe it.
That's interesting.
Yep. Whenever when I was on the Trim Healthy Mama podcast.
Name
dropping.
Goodness.
I think it was Serene said her son has breast milk in his lattes every morning that his wife makes him. Why don't you do that for me, Jason? Why didn't you ever? Why didn't you ever ask?
Special kind of man to do that. I commend him for.
If I did that,
that would be you know why? You know why? I like my coffee black. That's why. Can't help it. That's all I have. I mean, I'm not a latte guy. I'm just black coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess I can't use breast milk.
That would have been a slow motion moment for you had I ever given you breast milk in your coffee.
I like my coffee black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate milk, it turns out, now. All of a sudden.
As of today.
As of this
right
moment.
Now.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I hope it works out for him.
I think he's really healthy.
I'm sure he is. He's in the Trim Healthy Mama family.
Yep. They're all superhumans.
Really nice people, too. I think we're going on their podcast in a few weeks.
Oh, cool. When I went there, they're both very tall and model-esque, and I'm very short and not so model-esque.
I think you're model-esque.
Thanks. Like, I could be a part-time model.
I could be a part-time model. Was that Flight of the Conchords?
Yeah, but when we were on, like, when I was leaving, they were like, can we get a picture with you? Both so tall.
You had to stand on an apple
awkward,
box.
and they're both just gorgeous and perfect. And it was like, I was just in the middle. Like, we should do a podcast episode about my awkwardness because it's just constant.
Next one.
We're doing it.
Slow living. So if slow living is not moving in slow motion when panic happens, what is it, Emily?
Well, it's living your life in a way where you focus on things that are most important to you and slowing down. So, like, in every aspect of your life, you choose the more quality, more focused method. Like, for example, cooking.
Mm-hmm.
In slow living, you would be cooking your foods from scratch. Trying to make
the pizza I made today.
I know you did.
Incredible.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, I made the sauce.
Yeah, you did. It was awesome.
And that was a huge part.
Awesome sauce.
Literally. But so yeah, not just rushing, not convenience, not trying to do the quickest and fastest and most convenient thing. It is slowing down, being present in the moment, and taking it all in.
So that is very, in your opinion, and I guess opinion of, it's a movement, right? It's not just
It's
a,
pretty much a movement, and I feel like people who start on the slow living movement basically have to become crunchy.
oh,
It's a very crunchy thing.
well, what do you mean? They have to become crunchy.
Okay, if you start shopping slow, then you're going to be supporting local farms,
This is
local
confusing. What do you
businesses.
mean shopping slow?
Not
So I'm still stuck
browsing.
in the, I don't know. I like pecans and that, but I'm still,
Not
help me
buying.
here.
Okay. So like fast fashion is H&M, Uniqlo, American Eagle. You know,
Mhm.
all these places, these big brands
Slow
where,
fashion is making your own sweater.
I mean, that would be extra slow fashion. But investing in pieces
Hmm.
that are going to last forever.
Okay, and so slow shopping, like if we're talking grocery store, is investing in foods that are healthier for your body if possible. Investing's not the right word, I guess,
Yeah,
but
well, that and trying to support local farms, local sources.
mhm.
And the same thing with buying other things, buying gifts, like go to a local art guild or go to a local boutique that
Sounds
sells
expensive.
sometimes. But the thing is, people buy a lot more of the fast stuff.
That's true because it doesn't last as long.
Not only that, but people feel able to purchase more things because it's cheaper.
Hmm.
So you don't need as many whenever you buy something quality.
Right.
But it is there's a little bit of an adjustment period because you're so used to just like buying,
But of
whatever.
course, it's not just about purchasing.
No,
That's
it's
just one
not.
example.
Yeah,
Well,
I
like
was just saying that.
slow living is also like taking moments
Hmm.
and like living in a moment, like setting down your phone and watching your kids play instead of like taking a picture of them playing.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
slow living.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I always think about is when we were traveling in the RV, we visited Crater Lake,
Yeah,
which is a collapsed ancient volcano.
it's
The
really
water
cool.
is so blue. I mean, it is like so magical. It's unreal.
Hmm.
And I can't even remember what it looks like through my eyes. All I remember are the pictures that I took
Yeah.
of it, which the pictures are good, and I didn't put a filter on them. But it's just
Hashtag
that
no filter.
I know I was so obsessed with capturing the perfect photo that I didn't take it in with my own eyes.
Yeah.
You know?
And how much do we do that? Like all the time.
I know. Well, so I feel like that sort of all started because we were distracting ourselves from mundane moments or waiting or like annoying times.
There's an interesting thing on that. You and I both looked at a TED Talk by, I think it's Emily Morin, 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 where she's talking about how it's all about just waiting.
Mm-hmm.
She says the average person waits. The average person waits for 3 to 6 years of
Of
their
their
life.
life.
But which we're talking
And
about, like waiting in lines, waiting,
for the bus,
waiting
waiting,
for the doctor's office, whatever.
which she says in that talk, the more populated area you live in, the more you're going to have to wait, which
Oh
makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
traffic
So it
lights.
makes me feel pretty good about living in Paducah, Kentucky, out in the middle of the country, out of
Yeah,
the middle of nowhere, because there's really not a lot of waiting.
we just wait on people to finish their sentences because they talk so slow. Just kidding.
Um,
Uh, it's a almost southern thing. So
yeah.
I can't live it having lived in the deep south. I feel weird saying Kentucky is the south, but
Yeah. But they do have an accent
yeah.
here.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a Kentucky accent, but it's different than the Southern
it
accent.
is very different.
Well, I slip into the Kentucky accent more than you do. But independently, both of us decided we didn't want to have an accent. When we were like in middle school, I think I heard myself saying
We knew we were destined for
heel,
broadcast.
heel, heel instead of hill,
Eel.
heel, and things like that. And I was like, what? am I even doing?
I know
I'm
there is a recording of me somewhere. I think it's on an audio cassette tape of me talking to my dad and like, "Hey, Daddy." I'm like 6 years old. I'm like, "Hey, Daddy, what you doing?" Which
Yeah.
I don't remember speaking
One
like
of
that.
our
There's nothing
children,
wrong with
I
it. Accents
know.
are cool. I love
I
accents,
think
but
it's really charming and sweet. And people in other countries love Southern accents and
yeah.
Kentucky accents, especially. But no, one of our children has a Kentucky accent. Alder, I like
Don't
don't
understand.
understand because Oaks doesn't have it, but Alder does.
I think
It's so
I think he
strange.
just likes the sound and he
Yeah,
just goes
he
for it.
likes it. It's smooth.
Yeah, it's fun.
So in
Mm.
Kentucky, we like, or where we are, there's not a whole lot of waiting. Obviously, in metropolitan areas, there's more waiting. So, what do you do when you're waiting?
You distract yourself.
Because it's horrible. Waiting is the worst.
Yeah.
I am not generally a big fan of Dr. Seuss because I think they're confusing. The books, what pet should I get? I can't think of
One fish, two fish, three fish, blue fish.
redfish, bluefish.
Whatever. Oh, big fan over here.
I'm just trying. They're just kind of weird. They don't have very strong storylines. Lots
Have you
of
read The Lorax? Have you read Green
okay.
Eggs and Ham?
The Lorax has a.
Have you
I
read
will
Cat in the
cry.
Hat and Cat in the Hat Comes Back? Those are great
Not Cat in the
storylines.
Hat comes back.
Grew up with Cat in the Hat Comes Back.
Where
How is it
they're
not a good
turning the
storyline?
whole yard pink.
Yeah, it's amazing. All the
No,
little cats
mm-mm.
and his hat.
And then his hat. No.
It's so cool.
Okay.
Big fan.
I like the Lorax, and I will cry almost every time. And I love the line where he talks about the great great grandfather snail. Great 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 grandfather snail? I don't know. Anyway, but in all the places you'll go.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Oh, the places you'll go. See, I don't read them. Anyway, I do remember this page that's like the waiting place. And it's waiting for your hair to grow, waiting for the snow to snow, waiting for the rain to flow. I don't know.
You know?
But it sounds like torture. It's like one of the most torturous places is this waiting place.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally resonated with that in that book.
Yeah.
That's the one time. And the Lorax that I really liked. Yeah. Dr. Seuss.
Well, and just to get to the point is that, I mean, in her talk, she talks about how she has gotten to a place where if she finds herself waiting, like in a waiting room or whatever, she doesn't pull out her phone.
Because that's what most people do, is they just pull it out to distract themselves.
To pass time. Mm-hmm. And the more people do that, the less they remember about their experiences, the less they're able to comprehend what's going on around them. Throughout the time goes by so much faster. Mm-hmm. They go, how did this whole week go by so fast?
It's just
because they're always constantly distracting themselves.
It's just, I mean, people have said it 100 times, a million times. You go to look at your phone and then 45 minutes is gone.
Yeah.
And you don't even notice it. Like you don't even notice it.
It's really bad when you go back. When it's really bad when you go back to it and it wasn't even that entertaining.
I know.
It wasn't that great.
I know.
Unless you're just scrolling through all the Crunchy Mom videos. Subscribe for more. No.
There have been times in my life where I noticed my consumption, my media consumption was like out of hand.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't go anywhere or do anything without checking my phone, like stopping at a red light, immediately look at my phone. Like sitting down at the table before everyone else has sat down, pull out my phone. Like in these, in all the moments that I could squeeze in looking at my phone, I would. And that is just pulling myself out of reality, honestly. And sometimes I've done that because reality felt mind-numbing, but then the distraction is even worse, honestly.
That sort of brings me to an article I found. And I'd be interested to hear what your take is on it. So there's this video that apparently went viral on TikTok. This is from Yahoo News. Mom defends parents who are accused of always being on their phones. Okay.
Okay.
There's parts of this that I sort of agree with. There's parts of it I don't agree with. But I'm curious what you think. One mom made a now viral TikTok video to clap back at anyone who says parents need to put their phones down to be more present. I was just at my son's taekwondo practice, and I would say 75% of the parents are on their phones. I have seen a lot of commentary how parents are always on their phones, parents are always texting, they're not watching their kids. They've been seeing how great their kids are doing. They're not seeing how great their kids are doing during taekwondo or baseball or gymnastics, whatever it is. They're just too busy on their phone. Why can't they just take a break and look up? Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
on the face of it, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um
She's saying,
but she has a
yeah.
different approach. She's
Mm-hmm.
saying, I just want to provide a different perspective here because I think the average parent is being asked to do a lot. They are working full time. There's a lack of childcare. So oftentimes, these parents are not only on their phone. I sit next to parents who are on their laptops at taekwondo practice because they're technically still working. The majority of us are working parents. The majority of parents in our country are working parents. So when they're at taekwondo practice at 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, they're probably still on the clock. And they're lucky enough to have a remote job and they're still working while they're there. They're slacking on their phone, they're answering emails. Sometimes they're even listening to a call.
Okay.
I have a commentary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but is that the truth? When people are on their phones, are they working?
So my commentary on that would be, if there's 75% of parents on their phones, I don't think 75% of the parents are working.
I don't think so either.
I think that number is far lower.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that number is probably, and if I just had to guess, and it's me just guessing, I'm going to guess like 20% at best.
Mm-hmm.
25%. We'll even give it 50%. That means there's 25% of parents who are just scrolling because they don't want to watch their kid do taekwondo because
Well,
it's boring.
it is. And I'm not even necessarily saying you should be watching your kid do taekwondo, but
I
why
am.
not do something more productive if it's not work, like reading a book? Something that you can look up from.
Why don't you watch your kid do taekwondo?
Yeah, meh.
Okay, to answer my own question, she makes a pretty good point after that. She says, the other thing here is too, our parents used to drop us off at these things.
Mm.
They weren't expected to go to every practice we ever had. Heck, most parents didn't even go to half the games or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They dropped me off and left. So here's the thing, we're being asked to do a lot more. Be at every practice, be at every game, volunteer, work full time, pick up your kids from the bus stop. We're also being asked to be fully present for all of it, which is impossible. And so I agree with her on
Yeah, I
that.
agree. I agree
That
on
I
that.
mean, my parents didn't go to a lot of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I participated in.
Yeah.
Uh, all the parents today are being asked to do that. To me, that says that there's a broken system
Mm-hmm.
more so than it's the fault of the parents or the fault of parents in the moment or whatever. You can make the argument that parents, they need to be more present at taekwondo, but at the same time, we're probably all just doing too much.
Doing way too much. I feel like
Because more than
people.
likely, for most of those parents, sorry, taekwondo's like the third or fourth, maybe fifth thing their kid's doing that week.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much. There's
Yeah.
too much happening, which is where slow living comes in.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Busyness is a choice. Truly, when it comes down to it, busyness is a choice. You can choose what you prioritize, and it has become a status symbol. So I know that there's a huge temptation to succumb to busyness. I have felt it even, and I am like actively fighting against it. But it's a choice, and you can choose what to prioritize. And if you want to get rid of that because your life is just passing you by and you feel like you're constantly in the car and all you do is drop your kids off and go in and watch them do swim and watch them do taekwondo and watch them do music and watch them do soccer, and like, I talked to moms at our soccer game, which we'll get into here in a minute, and they're like, "Oh, we're headed to T-ball next."
Mm.
They're
After
doing,
soccer?
yes,
Yeah.
both sports
Yeah.
at the same time
Yeah.
on the same day.
How do they remember all those
I
rules?
don't know. And they're like doing uniform changes in the car, and
Wow.
it's like just
So much
so
polyester.
so much polyester and so much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. I love the book by Jenny Urich, Until the Streetlights Come On. And she talks about how youth sports have gotten out of hand and they're consuming kids' lives. And
And parents.
yeah, and
Again, the parents are expected to be at all of them.
a lot of the benefits that come from youth sports, like exercising and things like that, kids could get from free play
Yeah.
at their house. We
Yeah.
just talked about this. We don't put our kids in sports for their exercise.
Not for their activity level. No, they're outside all the time.
We put our kids in sports because they wanted to be in sports, but we have really struggled with this soccer season.
Yeah.
It's only 7 weeks long,
It is the longest 7 weeks of my life.
but Oaks has practice twice a week. Alder has practice once a week. We live 20 minutes out of town.
They both have games at
Games
different times on
Saturday.
Saturdays. Yeah.
Like sometimes one's at 9, one's at 12.
They-
Well, we live like out of a little out, and so we don't want to go home to only come back. So it takes up our whole day.
There's music lessons in the middle of the week.
I know.
Yeah.
And
You have
that's
forest
just
friends on Friday.
okay. That's 3 things, and it
I know.
feels like my schedule is packed.
And
we
people have way more
homeschool.
than that.
I
yeah.
know, and we homeschool. We're not even taking our kids to school.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand how people do it. Like, I have had a hard time functioning with this commitment, like, looming over me.
Yeah.
We skipped soccer tonight because it was misting.
The soccer practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, that's looking a little
it's
gray.
cloudy. We're not
Ah.
going to make it. Well, I
Yeah.
really didn't want to drive into town only to have to drive all the way back when it started raining. And they're like, oh, we're going to call off practice.
And then I made the best pizza you've ever had.
Second
So,
time.
Win-win.
It just gets to be too much. But in those times, we're distracting ourselves.
Yeah. Do you think that we have strayed away from slow living
No.
in the past 4 weeks?
In the past 4 weeks, it has felt like it. But compared to other people, I don't think so.
Do you think we live slowly? Or do you think we live in the middle? Because, I mean, we've got the social media thing going on. We put out a podcast. We put out videos every week.
You don't live very slowly.
I don't.
You don't.
That's what I think. I don't think I personally live very slowly, but as a
do.
family, we
Mhm.
live pretty
I
slowly.
mean, somebody's got to work.
Somebody's got to work. Somebody's got to put food on the table. No, you
I mean,
do
I
too.
put the food on the table.
Quite literally.
Yes.
Except tonight, I made a great pizza. Okay, we're starting a pizza truck.
I did say we could start a pizza truck. Actually, my idea was a food truck that changes every time. So, and call it like, what's for dinner? Or you never know. That was my
Yeah.
first one. You never know.
You want to get out of slow living. Start a
Start a
food truck. You will instantly be busy all the time. And there will be no sports. There will be no anything. You are
I
doing
know.
the food truck.
My mom was the manager at our town's most popular family restaurant. And I grew up in the back rooms of a restaurant.
Yeah.
It was still pretty slow sometimes. But
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but it's busy. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy life. She was always busy, always.
Time slowed down when
Running.
you got that French silk pie.
I know.
Yum.
Um,
I do want to address, like, because this is going to come up. A lot of people say, like, slow living is for the privileged. People who can afford to live slowly. But to me, it comes down to living slowly. Again, it's about all aspects of life. And obviously, not everybody can just, like, step back and, like, I'm going to work less. Like you can't you have to put food on the table. You
Yeah,
have to there is a certain level of busyness that is required of being a human being with responsibilities.
definitely.
And so
Except to that, let me just say, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I think people are unwilling to admit that they could live more simply if they were willing, or they could live a slower life if they were willing to make some sacrifices.
well, sacrifice entertaining yourself.
Yeah,
Sacrifice
definitely. So, like watching TV and things like that.
sacrifice distracting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice like have family reading time rather than like you're just tuned into ESPN and the kids are on their iPads and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
slower living is like doing things together, being
Mm-hmm. Like one thing that was really helpful to me and really important to me is eating nourishing foods. And I find it very difficult to make nourishing food in the morning. And so one thing I do a lot of times is make breakfast, like make a really good quiche the night before so that it's prepared. But like to do that, I have to give up time where I could just be vegging out,
mhm.
but I use it more wisely and make breakfast to make my morning go more smoothly,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
mean, your slow living can improve your time management. It can improve your family life. It improves your overall mental state, your
Mhm.
well-being, your memory. There's a ton of benefits out there for just not being so busy.
Mhm.
I just see people constantly going, and it's not my life. That's
Mhm.
not the life I want to live. And
Because there's beauty in the mundane. One thing I have noticed is when I put down my phone and I put it away, my kids engage more with me. There's like more time to build relationship because they feel more free to have conversation. I'm watching them, I'm seeing what they're doing. We just connect more. Another thing, like I could get so sucked into scrolling Pinterest, like all the beauty and all the inspirational ideas. But the thing is, when I do that, I don't actually create anything. I just
consume.
consume it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all
Instead
fake
of,
anyway. Yeah.
there's some really beautiful things out there, and some of it's inspirational. But you could spend your whole life just looking at other people's accomplishments instead of doing it yourself.
Are there any negative effects of slow living?
Probably overwhelm. You start to feel overwhelmed more easily because, like I said, with the soccer stuff, I mean, I have felt so like,
So wait, you're saying slow living, you can feel more overwhelmed?
when you allow busyness to occur.
Oh.
Hmm.
See, I think there's a chance of having fear of missing out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That is something you have to get over. I have only recently been able to start saying no.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Because I, like, in this position, having this platform, people have asked me to do talks and come do this and come do that and come do this. And at first I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. But then, like, when it comes down to it, that's,
Well, it's never just you giving a talk. It's preparation,
mm-hmm,
hours of preparation. It's a
mm-hmm.
lot of work, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Yeah. And
just
sometimes I do want to do that.
yeah,
But sometimes I just have to say, no, I
because it
can't.
starts
I'm sorry.
piling up,
Yeah.
and it turned into the busy person you didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be. Give a speech on slow living. It took like so much, 40 hours that week just to get the speech ready. One thing I noticed when um I feel like I need to be living more slowly, and it's usually when I have to edit a video and I'm behind on something. It's when it's my turn to put the kids down.
The only reason you're bringing this up is because you did the trifecta tonight.
I did do the trifecta tonight. Let's explain what the trifecta is.
Okay. So somehow, sometimes it ends up that one person out of the couple cooks dinner, cleans up from dinner, and puts the kids to bed.
It's never on purpose, but
No.
sometimes it just happens. And tonight it happened. I was the trifecta. I cooked. Made the best pizza I've ever made, by the way. I cleaned. And then I put the kids down. Anyway.
You're just the perfect husband. What was I even doing?
You
I know
should rate 5 stars for me.
while you were cooking, I was gardening.
That's true. Yeah. You're making our
And
place look beautiful.
while you were cleaning, I was eating chocolate. I don't really know what happened. It was my Mother's Day chocolate.
Yeah.
And then while you were putting the kids down, I was getting ready for the podcast.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
you know,
Trifecta happens.
the reason you put the kids down is because I've done it the last 3 nights, and usually we
Which is
alternate.
its own trifecta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually we alternate every other night.
Yeah.
And they go down faster for you.
Well, my point is that it kind of hit me one night that I was trying to rush through the books we were reading. I was getting really frustrated and I didn't want to be up there because I had stuff to do. And I'm putting my kids to bed. It should be a really sweet, tender moment. Like a moment of connection, putting you down to bed, tucking you in, kiss you on the forehead. And I really thought, like, wow, I it the edits I have to do, the responsibilities I have, the responsibility I have is to put my kids down to where they feel safe, protected, loved, and they don't care about me putting out a video tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
or the next day. It's gonna happen. Why don't I choose to be joyful in those moments and show them how much I love them? And
Because you haven't really been with them all day. No, I'm just kidding. I agree with you. I think what you're saying is great, but I think a lot of times the reason people get like that is because they have been parenting all day and then it comes down to it and it's like, come on, please just go to bed.
oh no, I'm
You know?
not. I'm not even saying that's everybody's experience.
Yeah.
I was saying that was sort of an epiphany for me.
Mm-hmm. Like
Um,
nothing else really matters. This is what your
yeah,
focus should be.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one aspect.
I don't know about other people, but with me, whenever I like overload myself and then I'm running late or I'm freaking out because I'm hosting something at our house and I'm wanting it to be perfect, like everything that I add onto our plate makes me more frustrated.
Yeah.
And then I am more apt to take it out on my family because I'm like, we're running late. You know?
I will say some people are better at being busy than others.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's necessarily what people should be doing all the time, but some people just
Maybe I'm just not very
are
good at
wired
it.
that way, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even like to distract myself that much. I do distract myself quite a bit on like I want to see how many, comments this video
You're
has.
all about the analytics of our
It's a
platform.
business.
I
Though,
know. And so you do spend a lot of time looking at that and
yeah.
And like one thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing because people are probably doing this right now with our podcast, but when you're cleaning, you're listening to an audiobook.
See, I don't see that. I don't see that as the same thing. Is it?
Can you be fully present while you're listening?
And I would make the argument that you just don't always have to be fully present at every moment, especially when nobody else is in the room.
True. Yeah.
Like if you're cleaning your kitchen, I think listening to an audiobook or a podcast or something is a perfectly valid thing to do.
And I think other people's brains are probably wired while they can listen and like someone can walk up to them and talk. I don't have that brain.
I came up with a couple of fun lists here. These are the top 10 countries with the best work-life balance. Number 10 is Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is Canada.
Mm-hmm.
8 is the United Kingdom. Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Australia. Number 3 is France. When do you think we're going to get to the U.S.?
It's not going to be on there.
Number 2 is Spain. And number 1, New Zealand.
Yeah, I knew.
Where do you think the U.S. is?
30.
The United States of America is ranked 53rd in the countries with the best life-work balance according to the Work-Life Balance Index. 53rd.
I mean, think about it. All these other countries have like paternity leave, longer maternity leave,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a huge movement right now, like the homesteading movement. All of that
Mhm.
is totally slow living.
Yeah.
Learning to can, learning to sew.
And it's wonderful that things like YouTube and Instagram exist to show people how to do those
Hmm.
things.
But
And
I think
there's a lot of great content creators out there that are teaching people some really cool stuff.
I agree. And I am totally all for that. I do think at some point you have to just do it, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's you could watch videos about doing that forever, but if you don't actually do it, then you're
Hmm.
just scrolling.
Hmm. Well, and this is another thing. So, and this kind of goes with slow living because gardening is slow living, but this also sort of goes with our last episode, analysis paralysis. I was telling my friend, she was telling me that she was wanting to look into types of flowers to grow. And she said, Natalie, our friend Natalie, is so good at knowing what to grow. And then she said, well, you are too. And I said, well, sort of. Here's the thing. Natalie can probably landscape it beautifully, but I just do it. Like, we have some random patches in our yard where we had stumps ground up, so there was no grass growing there.
Hmm.
So I planted seeds there. It's not going to look beautiful. The flowers will be beautiful, and I'll have flowers that I get to cut. But those are spots that I didn't have to till, and I got some seeds in the ground, and it worked out. And I'm really pleased with that. But that, like, just do it.
Just do it.
I wonder if there's any famous companies that have used that.
Mm.
You
Really
just
very
do
crunchy.
it.
Just do it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what are some good tips for slow living? What's a good way to get started if it's not something you're used to doing? Your whole life is just a chaotic mess. What do you do?
So I guess if someone's looking to live a slower life, I think the first thing they're going to have to do is realize that busyness is a choice. And so you can say no. You have to start saying no to things.
Yeah.
You have
Things
to
outside of, what is
necessary and
necessary.
expected. Don't say no, I'm not going to work, or
Unless
you need a new job. I don't know.
unless you just got to quit.
Don't listen to Jason. Less of Jason, more of me. It's what the review said. Uh, Also, be just super intentional with your time. Be present, even in the mundane, and invest in nourishing hobbies.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm tempted to say productive, nourishing hobbies like baking bread or gardening.
Yeah.
You're gonna get something out of that. There are two women at my Force Friends on Friday group who have started bartering. One of them provides bread, and the other one provides the bread check with eggs. And I'm like, why am I not in on this system? What could I provide? What could I do? But I haven't approached them about it yet.
Did you ever hear about that girl who started with a paper clip and traded her way up to a house?
I did hear about that
I've
girl.
actually
But
talked to her on the phone.
really?
Yeah, because Mr. Cool was a part of that at some point. But
Oh, cool.
well, it seems that we could all benefit from just living a little bit slower. Doesn't have to be all at once, right?
Right.
So just little by little,
A
a
little
little becomes a lot less.
That's
Because
true.
little by little, a little
little
becomes a lot
less.
less.
No, a
Because
lot becomes a lot less.
little by little, a little becomes a lot less because you're slow living. On that note, did I say it wrong?
Yeah. Little by little, a little becomes a lot less. That
Because
doesn't
you're
really make sense.
because
So
you're
you have to
doing it
say,
a lot of
no,
little.
little by little, a lot becomes less.
Well, there you go. And that's why we like to hear
You
more
heard it
from.
on the Really Very Crunchy podcast.
That's why we need more of Emily and less of me. Take it away, Emily.
Thank you so much for listening to the Really Very Crunchy podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure you leave a review and check out our show notes for more from me and Jason. Jason and me. Oh. Oh, was that Kentucky coming through?
Yeah, probably.
Should have went.
At least you didn't say.
You should have went there. And
at least you didn't say Jason and I, which would not be correct either.
I did say me and Jason. Well, maybe I should put me first. She said more Emily, less Jason. So
have a good week, everybody.
Check out the show notes for more of me and less of Jason.
I'm gonna go turn these ducks around.